Welcome to Speaking in Spoons with your host, Christina Brookman.
Hi, my name is Christina Brookman, and I am your host for Speaking in Spoons. And this is a Spoonie Sunday, your first Spoonie Sunday for March. I have been absent the past couple weeks. A lot has been going on. So I'm sorry for being absent, but my service animal passed away a year ago. So it was an emotional time. And then I moved, and then it was my birthday. So um, you know, life happens. And as those of you with disability and chronic illness know, that can really affect how you feel. So I have been exhausted and in a lot of pain, but I feel very blessed to have wonderful friends in my life who have helped me through this time. Um, put on a wonderful birthday party for me um, and my friend, and helped me move. And just, they're my true family. They're amazing to me. And I feel very, very blessed. I think it can take time when you're going through these struggles to find your circle of friends, your family. And when you do, hold on to them because there's what's going to get you through everything. I have not always had that. You go through periods of isolation, and even when you have that, you have periods of isolation and loneliness. But I hope those of you out there listening can at least through us realize you're not alone. There are others like they're out you experiencing what you experience, and it's universal. I'm realizing it's not just those with disability and chronic illness. It takes, I just had, if you can see, I had those of you watching and those of you listening, I had a port removed in my chest. I've had it for about 9 years, I think, 8, 9 years. It was put in. I have POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, and I was having symptoms that had been originally diagnosed as pseudo seizures. And they thought that it was coming from my POTS because it was a physiological form of pseudo seizures that was caused by my POTS being worse. So I was given a port, and that's like a device that goes underneath your skin. It's you have surgery for it, and it connects like directly through your heart to get into your veins to pump through your system. And for me, I was getting saline injections, and that would help regulate um, my blood volume and also my blood pressure. And the theory behind this was to help my POTS symptoms, which would then help my pseudo seizure symptoms. We now know what we thought was pseudo seizures is hemiplegic migraines, which is a very rare form of migraine causing like stroke-like symptoms where the right side of my body goes paralyzed. I drop fall, so I'll collapse to the ground. I can get like drooping on the right side of my face that looks like a stroke. And it can be confusing for people. So it took a very long time to diagnose. Luckily, though, this means I don't need the port. And ports can be, it's a last resort for many people. It's um, a lot of people, a lot of doctors don't like to use them because they are hard on the body. There's meant to be a temporary thing, more for like cancer patients or things like that when they're used with POTS. When it's a long-term thing, you know, um, it's not very good on your kidneys, I was told by one doctor, but also like because it's going through your heart, you're at a high risk for infection and you have to be very, very careful. So they don't like to do it. So I'm very glad that it's out. And it's also just nice to have to know what is actually happening. Uh, a lot of sometimes doctors will say, or people will say, the the diagnosis doesn't matter, or the title doesn't matter, the words doesn't matter, the symptoms do. But for people that have chronic illness and for a lot of patients out there, the label very much matters because it gives you validation. It helps you realize it's not all in your head. You're not making this up the way some people will think you are, because until you have a label, until you have a proper diagnosis, people don't always believe, people don't trust. And even when you get that, people don't, so, and having the correct diagnosis helps you communicate with all your doctors and help all of them be on the same page and get you the right treatment. You can't get the right treatment without the correct diagnosis, the correct label. So having that label is very, very important. And I would encourage doctors out there listening to really pay attention to what your patients are saying, and patients really push to be heard. Just make sure that you're being listened to and advocate. And if you're not being listened to, find someone who will. Because I've had doctors, particularly as we get into specialties, they really can get stuck in what their specialty is and not be concerned about the other parts of the body and any other systems or what's happening or when things happened. But it's so important because the body doesn't ignore that, you know, just because you're focused on the brain doesn't mean your brain isn't listening to your heart or your kidneys or something else. They're all connected. And if you don't listen to them, you might not get the right answer. You might diagnose your patient incorrectly, and then they spend 10 years with improper treatment. So think about that when you're listening to your patients. Don't ignore those other things. They could be connected. And I have Ehlers-Danlos, and our mascot is the zebra, because they'll tell patients, when you hear hooves, think horse speed, not zebra, because zebras are rare. But there's so many zebras out there, and it's not necessarily, rare conditions, but not everybody fits in a little box. And, most people don't fit in a little box. And you can miss out on things if you don't pay attention to everything. Um, so just, oh, on a different subject, but very exciting. We have our first episode of March coming up, Working and Disability. And we've got an incredible guest for you. We've got a representative, John, from DARS, the Department of Aging and Rehabilitative Services in Virginia, who help people with disabilities and elderly find employment through their disability. And they do so many other things regarding employment and disability, and they also work with businesses. So he's going to tell us a little bit about that. And we also have Rick Sizemore and Betsy Savelliet from VR Workforce Studio, which is a podcast associated with DARS. They actually had me on last month for Rare Disease Awareness Day to talk about Ehlers-Danlos and my experience with disability. And we're now having them on to talk about their podcast and what they do, because their podcast interviews individuals who have gone through rehabilitative counseling to help with employment while they are disabled. So this is going to be a great episode. We can't wait for you to listen. It is coming out on Wednesday, March 15th. So stay tuned for a great episode. Thank you, and happy spoons.
If you want to contact us, please send a DM or email to speakinginspoons@gmail.com with any stories you have or would like to interview with us on any of our upcoming topics. And check out our website for all of our upcoming episodes and what's happening in the Speaking Spoons community at www.speakinginspoons.com. Thank you for listening to Speaking in Spoons, and have a great day.